If you enjoy the show, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it to your social media platforms. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show. Welcome back, everyone. Matt with Tactical Tequila Podcast here. And on today's show, we have Chris Cardenas from Cardenas Legacy Tequila. He is an Air Force veteran, tequila owner, and blogger. Chris, how are you?
Good, Matt. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I kind of jack of all trades, master of none.
When did you start the brand?
Well, I started in tequila about 5.5 years ago, but this brand has only been on the market for just over 2 years.
Oh, okay. What inspired you to launch the brand?
To be honest with you, it was all by accident, and that's a true story. I lived in Mexico for 3 years, worked in the music industry at that time, and I used to put on music festivals all the way from Alaska to Guadalajara, Mexico. 2017, I put on a festival, lost a lot of money. I found a company in Guadalajara that would kind of do like they do with wine. They prepackage it, the tequila, and then they just put your logo on it. So I originally came out with my tequila. It was called Anger Management because that was the name of my music company. So Anger Management was fun. It was great at like tastings and stuff like that. People walk up laughing, Anger Management. I'm like, look, it's already working. But on a higher scale, going nationwide or trying to go do bigger things, a lot of restaurants and bars didn't like the name in their stores. The packaging was it was a little cheesy. But it was our first batch. I honestly did it just to see what would even happen. And next, we put in some, spirit awards. We started winning medals with it and stuff like that. And I was like, maybe we got something here. So that's when we had a little bit of a problem with the name Anger Management 2 legally. So we had to change it. So this was the name I originally wanted to use, was Cardenas Legacy Tequila. But I thought I had to be trademarked in Mexico and the US. But I'm not selling in Mexico, so I don't need to be trademarked down there. So I was able to do it. I got it trademarked up here and then started running from there.
Nice. How would you say that between your Air Force experience, your music background, how would you say that has shaped your approach to the tequila industry or tequila brand?
From the military side of things, one of our mottos with our tequilas, we like to say we're made with integrity. So we are, I know the magic words right nowadays in the tequila industry is we are additive free. We use water, yeast, and agave to make our tequila. And that's all we use. So I think with that integrity side of things, when I started talking to Francisco Gonzalez Jr., that's what I told him. I want to make sure. And he goes, there's no other way I would make it. So I knew my distillery will not use additives. Everybody's all about nice, clean, good tequila. And so integrity is a big thing on that side. On the music industry side of things, people like to drink, and coming from the music industry, we didn't drink it the right way though. Tequila was kind of that fun thing after the shows and stuff, drinking as fast as you can and all that stuff. So it was one of those things. I couldn't drink tequila for 10 years because of the past of college and music industry. I would be one of those guys and I'd smell it and be like, oh no, keep that away from me. But of course I wasn't smelling the good stuff. I was smelling kind of the junkier tequilas and stuff like that, which that's what they're made for. But then once I was living in Mexico and I learned about the culture and the quality of tequila, it was a lot of fun.
Now, on this show, I like to ask people about their worst experience with tequila. And you said, you kind of touched on it a little bit. You didn't drink it for 10 years. What was there a specific incident, night out or, just a random day of drinking tequila that made you want to stop drinking tequila for, so long?
There was a specific night that did it to me. I can remember like that. I was going to college. I was at my buddy's house and he was only a beer drinker, but his girlfriend liked tequila. So me and her were drinking tequila, and we got, just feeling pretty darn good. I mean, I was doing stair dives down the stairs and everything with it. That's how good we were feeling and everything. So first thing, so when, we drank a bunch of tequila that night, woke up the next day feeling like crap, of course. Well, my buddy, I got you guys some pancakes. So we're like, okay, got to get some food in us. We go to eat the pancakes. We didn't know he put tequila in the pancake batter. Well, after a night of drinking tequila and not feeling good and everything goes, we drank those pancakes. We both just ran for separate bathrooms.
Oh man.
Yeah. So that was the last time for a long time I had tequila.
Wow, that sounds like an interesting night for sure, and definitely one that would make even the queasiest of stomachs curl.
Yeah, it was not IHOP pancakes at all.
Definitely not fluffy.
No, no, no,
no. So getting back to Cardenas' legacy, what does it represent to you, and how does it reflect on your personal journey?
So the Cardenas legacy, obviously being my last name, then the legacy part comes from I joined the military during Desert Storm. My father was Vietnam, and my grandfather was World War II. So on the military side of things, that's where the legacy part of it comes in. And my oldest daughter right now is in the Coast Guard Academy. So,
okay.
So there's a lot more of my family members that have been in the military, but I kind of keep it simple, just right to the direct. My father, and my grandfather. Now, I never went to war myself. My father was in the rivers of Vietnam, and my grandfather was a bombardier in World War II. So there is, yeah.
See, on my end, my grandfather was in World War II. My dad was in during Vietnam, and then my brother was in during the first Gulf War, and then ended up getting back in later on and going through Iraq. And then myself, a couple stints in Iraq and shorter stints in Afghanistan on, protective details. But that's kind of, where I am in the realm of, veteran status.
Well, that's awesome. So your family is very veteranized too, and
yes.
I think you see that a lot with families. I knew at a young age I was going to go in the military. I didn't know what I was going to do. Of course I watched, Navy SEAL stuff and all that. I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. But, it's not what I ended up doing. I was actually an aircraft mechanic on C-130 aircraft was what I actually did. So in the military.
So you're the one that fixed the planes that I jumped out of.
Yeah, hopefully you never flew on any of mine. Mine didn't stay in the air very long.
That's the chair force for you.
Yeah, it's true. But to go with that, I had an Army guy give me crap one day. He's like, I'm making $100 to jump out of the plane. I was like, dude, I'm making 110 to stay in it.
Man, that's interesting that he was only making 100 because it was 110 when I was in. So, with the military background, and how would you say that you balance tradition and innovation in your tequila making process?
Like I said, I think it's the integrity of what you're making. I think it's also, being real. Not trying to be something we're not. I don't try to be, I am not, there's people out there who know a lot more about tequila than I do. But I learned, Francisco Gonzalez Jr. is my master distiller and my mentor. And that's what I learned a lot from. I've learned from other people also, including people like Cesar Ramirez, Julio Barmeo, people like that I was lucky enough to meet when I started this journey. But the main thing is just the quality and the integrity of it. I think I've always been a firm believer. If you have a good quality product, that's what speaks the most.
And I love that one of your quotes, about the brand is about integrity. And, I think a lot of brands now are going towards that way. They're wanting to keep it more simple. They're wanting to keep it, additive free, the, artisanal way that tequila should be made.
Absolutely. people are getting obviously more creative on that side of things, but I think you're starting to see a turn, and that's why you see poor Grover and these guys getting sued and all this stuff because of CRT. It was hitting the big brands. Big brand sales were going up. I mean, instead of making $5 billion, they were only making $4.5 billion a year, but still,
when you hit the pocketbook of the big brand, they're definitely going to reach out for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, anytime you lose $500 million in revenue, it's going to turn heads for sure.
Absolutely, and it was happening. It is happening. People, I don't think it's not only that, it's the quality of tequilas, but it's also just the education of tequilas. People are getting educated on tequila and they're learning themselves. And that's what's making a big difference.
I agree with you wholeheartedly there. And education, and, it's on us as influencers, as media, as brand owners, to educate the consumers on what's good. And I think that with the additive free movement, like, it has come so far in just a short span that it has, that it will leave a hole in the industry, for the bigger brands. And as you can see, you have bigger brands now that are saying, oh no, we're additive free. And, they, take Don Julio, for instance, now they have, with their marketing budget and everything that they have to put forward to it, they're, putting every effort that they can into marketing that.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because, 1942 was a tequila that really got me drinking tequila again. But that was back before the family sold it. That's back when it was still being made properly and everything. And, and I've been lucky enough, having Francisco be my master distiller, and I'm always at the family's distillery down there for Gonzalez Reserva. I get to try some of these. They have a barrel that's 20 years aged. And they let me try some of that. Me and my wife, the first time we went down, they let us try some of that. And we were just like, whoa, oh my gosh. So I'm like, can I just take some minis home? And he's like, nope, you drink it here and that's as far as it goes. I'm like, well, can I get another one?
Right.
But no, it's unfortunate. And you're exactly right. These big brands, they know that it's hurting them. So they're trying to, hit that side of marketing.
Yeah. And, I think it's just one of those things that it's never going to go away. They're always going to be, I think, pushing it, even though they may or may not be additive free, but they're going to try and advertise. I think some brands will, in order to try and recoup what they've lost.
And it's sad with the additive thing because, it would never started. It was the additives started mainly just to kind of, if you had a bad batch, just to kind of soften it up, give it a little flavor profile. But then some of these brands just started taking it way too far because they saw the gringos were liking the sweetness and this and that. And that's when it just, there's an area code brand out there, it tastes like birthday cake. It really does.
I was just gonna mention birthday cake, so we're on the same wavelength there. Do you have what would you say? Which expression defines your brand?
If you would have asked me that 2-3 months ago, the reposado is kind of what everybody's really enjoyed. But now with my Nejo hitting the market, this third week of March, I don't know. A lot of people are in love with my Nejo that have tried it. Only a small. I've got amazing feedback on the Nejo. The reposado, it's a little bit different than most of your reposados. It really is. A lot of people tried it, and that's what they like about it. It's a little bit different because everybody's always like, "Oh, what makes yours different?" The flavor profile is different than a lot of tequilas. I do an 8-month age reposado. My añejo that's coming out is 30 months. That's pretty high for most of these, you know, because a few more months, you're extra añejo. And
Right.
that whole story is just a mess because, you know, my distillery's overwhelmed right now because of Lalo, you know,
Okay.
which is a great tequila. And
Yeah.
he's a cousin of my master distiller. So I mean, I'm never going to say anything bad about it, but it's really put our distillery behind because he's kicking butt. So
Yeah.
he's a priority, and that is what it is. So my añejo was only supposed to be 24 months, and it turned into 30 months. And I basically had to tell him, no, we got to take it out of the barrels now and put it in stainless steel because I don't want an extra añejo if I don't even have an añejo on the market.
Right.
So that's kind of what all happened there. So it's 6 months. You know, most of the people have tried it at 26 months, and then now the people are trying it at 30 months are just like, wow. So it came out better than I expected in the aspect of it was never supposed to be 30 months. So,
Okay.
and it's a limited edition. There's not, you know, there's not a ton of bottles. So this is the first batch, but we're getting ready to make batch number 2. Batch 1, we just ran out of our Blanco. So that Blanco bottle, you guys, one of the last ones in the market right now. So,
Okay.
so batch 2, we're going to be making here shortly. And then we still have Reposado and Nejo. We'll be selling from batch 1, but then we'll be aging batch 2 and getting that ready.
Are you going to be producing anytime soon a still strength or a high proof or an overproof?
We will. I'm trying to see if I can make it happen in batch 2. If not, it'll be within a few months after batch 2.
Okay.
But no, it's a small market, but it's becoming a more popular market.
I would agree with you there. And for me, like, I love still strengths, high proofs, overproofs. You know, I could sip on those all night long and, you know, be just content.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think you have an amazing Blanco. So I definitely want to see, you know, where, you know, your high proof are.
No, and if you know, we're looking at it too because you know when it's first made, when I tasted it the first time, it's actually a high proof.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you know that you get that flavor, you get more cinnamon. You know, there was a lot more different flavor, or I shouldn't say more, or I shouldn't say different. I should say more.
Mm-hmm.
The flavor profile is obviously expanded more and more influenced by the high proofs.
Yeah. You know, for me, I like the peppery finish. You know, the minerality to a lot of tequilas is one of my favorite parts about, some good tequilas, as well as, uh, you know, those funky tequilas like Vivo. Like Vivo is one of my favorite Blancos of all time, and it's just that funkiness to it. I think that really draws me into it. But you know, I love the minerality to it. I love tequilas that just have that agave flavor to it. You know, that are really agave forward. So kind of getting change directions here. You run a Instagram page that is called Sports, Music, and Tequila. What inspired you to start the page? I know from your music background, and probably has something to do with it, but kind of give the listeners a little bit insight on, you know, what inspired you to start that page.
It's exactly what you just said. So I came from a sports background, a music background, and obviously now a tequila background. So me and my buddy, we were starting just a little fun thing it originally started on Facebook. And we started it actually before COVID, but we both have regular jobs and stuff. We were having a lot of fun with it. It was just a fun thing. And then it was just him and I. Then we brought Dave Dennis from Tequila Aficionado on board with us. And our joke was at the time, you know, he was our weatherman. We couldn't afford the Mexican girl in the nice dress, so we just got Dave, you know. And so he came on, and he was our tequila expert. You know, I was, you know, JD, my co-host with it, he's more into baseball and some football and stuff. And I'm pretty well rounded on sports. You know, my stepdad was a professional baseball player. My real dad was a musician his whole life. So like, that's why both of those are so strong with me. I came from both backgrounds. And so I just wanted to have something fun, something that was different. And we just did it. And we do it for fun. You know, we're not trying to get popular. We're not trying to this. We just go on there. We don't care. You know, that's what makes it fun. You know, we don't care. We just go on and do it.
And I've watched a few lives that you've done, and
I'm sorry.
You know, I've enjoyed them all. So, you know, that's definitely good. How would you say that sports and music tie into the tequila culture?
You know, as people are more and more are learning about tequila, it's actually becoming more and more common because more and more people are drinking tequila. More and more people are enjoying. Like I can tell you right now, on the music side of things, a lot of people that are getting it. I mean, even look at the brands that are coming out for music people. I mean, obviously, I don't put Sammy Hagar in that same category as a lot of celebrity tequilas because Sammy's been doing it right for a long time. Whether you were a big fan of his Cabo Wabo or not, he still did things right. The Santos is a great tequila. You know, I do enjoy it. So there's nothing wrong there. George Strait, Código, you know, all these guys are getting it. To now you got what's her name, Meg Stallion coming out with a tequila, and you know, and it's kind of unfortunate because it's just like anything else. People are just seeing the dollar signs. Sammy, I can tell you right now, he really enjoys the tequila industry. He enjoys that whole culture of the tequila. Sammy has really learned a lot about it, you know, and stuff like that. So when you're doing that, it's one thing, but when you're just jumping into it and to do it for the dollars, it's a whole nother story. But to kind of come back to your question, athletes are getting more into it and musicians are getting more into it. I've gone to a couple of concerts of my friends and I brought some tequila and they're like, all right, you know, and I haven't asked any of my friends from the music industry to get involved. I do have a good buddy. You might know him. He wants to be an ambassador for me. We haven't worked out a deal yet, but he's Kevin from all the American Pie movies, and he is also he's also a musician too, and he's a good dude. He's a big lover of my tequila, and he's a great guy. But one of these days, I don't want to be a celebrity tequila. What I try to say is I want the celebrities to enjoy my tequila, but I don't want to own it.
You know, that's I think truer words have never been said. You know, I think in my honest opinion, when, you know, celebrities start to get into it and they're, you know, Sammy Hagar, you know, he's doing it right for sure. But, you know, when celebrities get into it, it's more of, like you said, for the dollar. It's, you know, let's put and it's always like LeBron James, like, you know, his tequila, in my opinion, is not that great. And
it's like his son.
Yeah. You know,
I'm sorry.
Unfortunately,
I'm not a big LeBron fan.
He was great in high school, but, you know, coming up to the pros, like he's definitely got a lot of stuff to work on.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was brought up way too quick.
100%.
But, you know, the influence that his dad has, that's a major reason, if not the reason, that, you know, he was brought up into the NBA. And you can see by how he's played and moving down to the G League. And, you know, now he's, you know, kind of back and forth and everything. It's just one of those things that it's like, okay, yes, you have influence on this stage, but let's not bring it over into this arena or this industry where you really have no idea.
Right.
You know,
I'd be interested to see if he's even ever been down to the distillery. You know,
I would probably put money on it and say that he has not, but
I'd be right there with you. That's where I was very disappointed in The Rock. Because I'll be honest with you, when he was coming out with the tequila, I was like, oh man, that sucks because he's got money. And
Yeah.
I knew he enjoyed tequila, and he was going down the distillery. He was tasting all the different samples and stuff. That's why I was kind of like, why did you come out with that for someone that really
Yeah.
enjoys tequila, But you know what? He made a lot of money off it already.
Hey, it's small batch.
Yeah, yeah. Mine is very freaking tiny, 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 tiny. Then
And honestly, that was one of the first tequilas that I really started on when I started going down the rabbit hole. Was Terramana,
hmm
and I thought it was good, and then I started seeing influencers like Doug Price and Jay Bear, and started seeing the tequilas that they were presenting on their Instagrams, and started switching my whole view of how tequila was, started sampling newer things, and never looked back after I stopped drinking the Terramana.
well, it's just like anything else, and that's what some people say. I'll joke around about those brands, but you know what? That brings a lot of people over to tequila that wouldn't have drank it
Oh yeah.
before. And like you said, and people like Jay Bear and stuff like that. Jay Bear, someone posted about my Reposado tequila the other day. And Jay, he's a great guy. He said that's one of the he said about my tequila, that's one of the most underrated tequilas on the market right now. And it makes me feel good when somebody like that, says something
Mhm.
like that, But
Well, and I just had Jay on the show, a couple episodes ago, and he was out here in Vegas, for one of his speaking engagements, and he came over to the house. We had sat here, drank tequila. He even gave him some Asil Raicilla, and it's that was the first Raicilla that I had ever sampled, and that I sampled it with Jeff Ernst of Package Group.
Mhm.
He had brought it over for his episode, and the first time I'd ever tried a Raicilla, and I was like, wow, this is totally amazing. Like I love this expression, and just the notes on it, the vanilla, you get the barrel, and all of it is just all encompassing. And I was just like, wow, this is an amazing Raicilla.
I'm with you.
So
So we're about in the same book. So my wife's cousin is making a raicilla outside of Puerto Vallarta. But I'm with you.
okay.
I had never had right before. And we were at her cousin's, it's his sister's birthday party last month. And he had some there. And he's, Chris, I want you to try this. I want you to try it. And everybody was laughing because I'm not a big drinker. I'm a social drinker, drinker too. And between like three of us, we went through a whole bottle because it was
Yeah.
that good. But I would love to try the one you tried. I saw Jay post about it the other day. I want to try it because I want to have something to compare it to, because,
Mhm.
and Jay explained it. It's almost it's a in between of a mezcal and a tequila type flavor. And that was a great way to explain it.
Yeah. And, for never having tried it before, I think that trying that brand had ruined me for all other like Raicias. I've yet to try another one, but we'll look forward to trying more just to have something to compare it to.
Absolutely.
So kind of, moving back into if you could pair your tequila with any sports event, what would it be and why?
The World Cup,
Okay.
because it's a culture of all nations coming together and playing a sport that everybody enjoys. And I think I love football. I love baseball. All my daughters play soccer, so I'm kind of like, but I think the World Cup brings people together like no other sport. And you see people during the World Cup that don't even watch soccer, that are watching soccer. And I think that's what tequila does. Tequila brings people together. So why not join with something like that brings people together?
I like it a lot. Having lived in Belgium for a few years, and seeing how soccer is, well, football is, in Europe, and seeing just like you go into a pub and during the World Cup and it is jam packed. Like you cannot walk through the pub and everybody's just cheering and, drinking, having a great time. And it's just one of those things that, I can definitely see that, because, tequila is this community and, I think, football fans have that community as well. And bringing both of those together would be, righteous in a sense.
I agree.
If you could have a dream music collaboration with anyone, who would it be?
Oh man, that's a good one. Um, I'm gonna throw something out there because it's not that far off. The Blake Shelton.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that, I don't know if he's tried it, but my tequila is on his private jet.
Nice.
So whether he's tried it or not, that's a whole new story. So JD, that's my co-host on the SMT show, he works at a private airport, and he's gotten to know Blake pretty well. So he was telling Blake all about my tequila. So he finally got it on the plane. Like I said, I don't know if he's drank it or not. He hasn't seen Blake lately. But I'm like, I'd love to just hear if he liked it or not, because I do know, unfortunately, he does have 1942 on that plane. I've seen that picture.
Oh,
So yeah.
Well, maybe we can phase that one out and continue with yours.
I agree, 100%.
So when you're sipping tequila, being a music guy, what is your go-to playlist?
Man, I'm an all over the guy, all over this. It depends on what mood I'm in.
Okay.
I'll go old school NWA to, country to oldies. I listen to everything. That's, you kind of had to if you want to work in the music industry, do what I do. So my playlist would be, it just depends on the day. It really would just depend on what's going on that day.
I would agree with you there. See, for me, the only music that I really don't get into is more of the headbanger, and the shouting metal.
Cookie Monster music.
Yeah,
I worked with a lot of those bands, so I can say that.
I just cannot get into that, and it ends up giving me a headache and things like that. So, for me, like I'm soul all the way. I could go back to like Aretha Franklin, Otis Redding, those types of artists. Like for me, that's when music was music.
Oh yeah.
And of course there's, the days that, Eminem or, I'm into Five Finger Death Punch, and it's only a few songs of Five Finger Death Punch, but it's those songs that are just like, man, this band is great. And, you get in the feels and you're like, man, I just got to listen to this or, yeah. So I see, coming full circle back around, like I can see, it depends on the day and it depends on what's going on for sure.
And I'll be honest with you, what goes along with that too is depend on the day and where I'm at is the kind of tequila I drink too. Okay. I might, it's different, when I'm just chilling, I'll drink a Neo. I just really want to chill, this and that. I mean, all of them I can chill with, but like Blanco on a nice hot summer day, I like to sip on a Blanco. I just like that natural taste, that natural, so that kind of goes hand in hand. So, the music will change with the tequila.
And so while we're on the topic of sipping tequila, what is your preferred method of drinking tequila?
Just sipping on right here, my little Rydell tequila glass. That's my preferred way. Now, will I drink it other ways? Yeah. But my preferred way always is just like this, room temperature, just right here out of my glass. But I will make, on a hot summer day, especially with my wife around, I'll make some cocktails. I'll make some margaritas or something. I like to just take fresh fruit and just make a margarita. My favorite still is Jamaica.
Yes.
Jamaica and Blanco tequila. one little piece of ice in there. It's so refreshing on a hot summer day.
Yes. I've made a few cocktails for my fiance. She says I ruined her. So when I make her drinks, and then when we go out and she has drinks, she's just like, no, these drinks are no good. I'm like, well, maybe I should be a bartender or something.
Add that on the list.
Right? Podcaster, bartender, protector.
There you go. Now, let me ask you though, is it because you think you're using real ingredients and some of these guys are using syrups? Or is it just the way you make it?
I think it's probably a mixture of all of that. Because I kind of stay away from syrups. I've tried simple syrup and just agave syrup. There's one cocktail that I'll make her with a agave syrup in it just to sweeten it up.
Yeah.
But I would much rather muddle up some sugar or sugar cubes and lime, muddle that up, or muddle it up with the fresh fruit of like a strawberry or a watermelon, and create a cocktail that way with her, or for her.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, she says that I ruined her for drinking, so
hey, makes it nice when you just get home and just want to stay home.
Which we tend to do a lot, just because we would much rather just eat in and cook our own food as opposed to going out. And a lot of the time, with me being on the road for work and stuff, I'm always eating out when I'm on the road. When I'm not on the road, I'm always cooking, always in the kitchen, making something. So it's just one of those things.
No, I get it. Well, plus it's expensive to eat out these days too. I mean, to be honest, it's like I can make, we're a family of 4 right now because my oldest is gone. But for us to go out to dinner, it's $150. And we're like, we can make an amazing dinner for $40-50 at home for all of us.
Exactly. You go to Costco and get a pack of steaks, and go make steaks, and just get a baked potato, a potato, make a baked potato, and just another vegetable with it.
Yep, exactly.
What would you say, what is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned in marketing your tequila on social media?
I just try to be real. I don't try to be something, like I said earlier, something we're not. Try to be honest. And that's the biggest thing. I try to just be me.
With that said, and how do you engage your audience in order to build your brand?
I will admit, I can't wait till I'm a little bit bigger brand and I can afford to pay someone to do a lot of the marketing, and not because basically it is me doing it all right now.
I know the feeling.
Yeah, but but on the flip side of that, I do enjoy it because I have contact with these people. I'm talking to these people. I have that interaction with them, which is good. And it's fun. I always want to have that for sure, but it'd be nice to have someone, I just hired this new girl. Her name is AI. And I'm trying to learn, how to use some of that and stuff to make things a little bit easier. But I still want to always have that personal touch. But I think that's a magic key. Just have that personal touch. When people see me at tastings and stuff like that, sometimes they don't know. It happens all the time. They don't realize I'm the owner when they see the last name, and then they see me. They're like, "Who's this white boy?" With a Mexican last name and everything. And then they find out it's me. Then they're a lot more interested. Now they want to learn more and talk more because they know I'm the owner. They think I'm just some rep out there representing the brand. So having that, and when marketing it, when people are actually talking right to the owner and they can get the true story and the actual facts, I think that makes a big difference too.
Yeah, I would agree, 100% with that. Are there any events that you're going to be at upcoming, or that you're excited about in the near future?
Yeah, Sabor y Cultura in Chicago. in New York. Working on those right now. And I do the local community stuff that we always do. I have a couple business partners, and they handle some of the smaller stuff in the community too. But there's a couple events locally that we do every year. There's a private school out here that we do every year, and it's always a lot of fun. And and I see some of the guys, Alchemia's out there, and Cholo, and all these brands. We kind of hit a lot of the same ones, so it makes it a little bit more fun when we're all out there together because we all get along great. We all support each other's brands, and that's kind of another thing cool about tequila too. Is 98% of the brand owners, we're not trying to burn anybody else. We all support each other. There's a few out there that are a little bit selfish, but that's all right.
Well, and that was like I think it was the El Pandillo Christmas party, basically. There were so many brand, just master distillers there, just showing support. And, that's one of the things that I love about the tequila industry and, the tequila community is that it is in a brotherhood, in a sense, just like military and law enforcement, you have that community. And, I like seeing the smaller brands, they all go to each other's events and, they all support one another. And I think that is just so amazing.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's a very small community. There's almost 3,000 tequila brands, but, as a whole, you have probably 100 of us that are pretty active in certain areas, and stuff like that. So a lot of us see each other, and a lot of us, we're in that inner circle. And like I said, Cholo, I'm a big supporter of him because he's a lot like me. For the most part, he's a one-man show. He has a little bit of help, but for the most part, he's a one-man show. He's going out there and doing it himself.
Well, and I met him for the first time here at our G4 launch after party here in Las Vegas. And one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, He's
the second nicest guy in tequila.
Yeah, you're the first?
Yeah, 100%.
Well, and that's like you. The first time I met you was at Sabor in LA, at the industry night. And, when I got invited to the industry event, and I was just kind of blown away at first. I was like, wow, like I got invited to this. Like, to me, that was like so cool. And then getting to meet like everyone there within the industry and everybody that, I follow on, social media, I'm like, wow, like this is kind of just like surreal for me.
It is cool, and it's cool because I even got invited and I was shocked, but because they usually don't let Rudy and I in the same events together. So that's kind of a no right there. No, Rudy's been a big supporter too. Even before he was working with Los Lord, which is another great brand. And, we all support each other, and stuff like that. No, it's a lot of fun. And, and hopefully you can make it out to some more things. I know it's not always easy as it seems. I try to make, that's what people don't understand. Like where I live I'm in the most northern part of LA. And a lot of this stuff happens down more in the southern part. And like Lou cracked up on me one time because he was doing this special bottle exchange. And it took me 3 hours to get there in traffic. He goes, man. He's like, man, I didn't expect you to show up. And John from the AO and everybody's like, holy crap. And I was like, if I tell you I'm going to be here, I'm going to be here. And I ended up being, I think I was like a half hour late, 40 minutes late or something, but still had a couple hours there and stuff. And that's the main thing, if I tell you I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there, and stuff like that. So,
and see, for me, like, that's the same way. Like, if I say, hey, I'm going to be there, like I do everything that I can. And, unless it's a dire emergency, I definitely will show up.
You just got to watch out for those tequila brands that promise to send you stuff and then don't send it. Those guys, you just got to watch out for.
Listen, I don't know who those brands are, but I don't know if I'm ever going to have them on the show.
I wouldn't. I would just, if you did, I would just edit the heck out of it.
Right.
But I did try to hand deliver tequila to you. I did try.
I will give you that. You did. Unfortunately, I was flying out, at the next mornings, and wasn't able to make it out. So kind of drawing our back into where we were at. Where can people find Cardenas Legacy Tequila?
Total Wine has been a big supporter. The best thing to do is go to our website cardenaslegacytequila.com, and you can find all the locations on there. We're in California and Texas right now. We are looking to expand to Colorado, Alaska, Illinois, New York this year.
No Nevada?
I'm trying.
We got to get you to Nevada.
I do want to get in Nevada. I do. You're my neighboring state, and I'm in Vegas all the time.
There's a few other brands that are not yet in Nevada. And, it's so unfortunate with the distribution in Nevada and the way that it works. There's a lot of good brands that are either shying away from Nevada and kind of don't want to get into it right away, or they're trying to get in and those distributors are saying, nobody really wants your tequila, or, they're trying to have brands sign, multi-year contracts. And a lot of these brands, the smaller brands, they don't want to sign those contracts, and I totally get it. But also at the same time, I'm like, man, I just wish I could go down to my local liquor store, Liquor Lineup 2, which is where I buy most of my tequila, and, get your brand. Like that, to me, that would be, ideal, and that would be amazing. But I just hate having to wait for shipping and, having to be at the house in order to sign for it. And
shipping's not cheap.
No, it's not.
I tell people, I said, to make it worth your while, if you are ordering online, you have to order multiple bottles. If you're trying to order just one bottle, it's not worth it. You're going to pay $15 to $20 for that one bottle. So, you can get 3 bottles for like $20-$25. So that's why I tell people, if you're going to order it online, it's the best way to do it. We have a deal with Ferment and Still, and they sell our tequila on there, and they ship and do that to 43 states for us. But I do understand when people want to try it, or they just want to order one bottle, it's expensive, no matter how much we're trying to keep the price down.
Yeah, I agree. Going back to your Air Force days, and
you almost wanted to say it. I heard that. You wanted to say Chair Force. I heard that.
Listen, the thought may have crossed my mind, but I refrained and went the professional way.
I appreciate that.
So how did your time in the Air Force shape your leadership and business mindset?
I think it was more, I wouldn't say business maybe as much, but more the leadership. As being in the military, you have to learn to take charge a little bit. You have your leaders and your followers. You have to know when to lead and when to follow. And I think that's one thing the military really teaches you, and that discipline that comes with the military. And once again, the magic word for me is integrity. Just to have that integrity to do the right things and everything. But I think that was the main thing, is just, teaching me when to take charge and when to listen. And I try to do that with the tequila. It's my babies. It's hard for me to, but when people give me advice, you have to listen. And you have to be a good listener and listen to what they're saying. And, I take that in consideration. Like with batch 2, there's a couple things I have a little in the back of my mind when we're going into batch 2 from batch 1.
A caveat onto that, the difference between batch 1 and batch 2, are there any differences between each batch, or is it the same recipe for both?
It will be the same recipe, but going like you said, whether I do it as still strength or whatever I do with it too. When I started this tequila, I made this tequila to win over people that normally wouldn't drink tequila. So my Blanco is a little bit softer than some other Blancos.
I would agree.
And that was on purpose because your average person that doesn't drink tequila will not sip a Blanco tequila. They think Blanco is only for margaritas. This. So that was my main goal with when I started this. Now, but I wanted it something that tequila people could enjoy. I mean, for you, it's probably going down real super easy because you like the high proofs and stuff. You're kind of like,
Yeah.
it's, the flavor's not as strong. Obviously, it's not going to be. But
well, and like you said, it's a softer Blanco, but this is a tequila that you could take and sit poolside all day long and just sip and enjoy and relax and forget any care in the world that you have. Like I said, earlier in the podcast, I think this is a phenomenal tequila. And, I would agree with Jay Bear on, what he said, that it is an underrated tequila for sure.
Well, thank you. No, thank you. And so with that, it's going to be the same. But like I said, coming out with a high proof for the tequila lovers, the ones that like that full richness of, one thing we will always be on our Reposado, our Añejo, or any of these, as like you said earlier, we will always be agave forward. That's the whole goal. Like people that have tried the Añejo, they're like, wow, this is aged for 30 months, but that agave flavor is still coming forward. And that's what you got to have. It's still tequila. So to go with that, the bourbon, the Reposado, when I was making this, I wanted to win over bourbon and whiskey folks with it. That was my goal. That normally would not drink tequila. But when you taste this, it's still agave forward, and it's not a strong barrel flavor. It's not too oaky. And that was on purpose. I wanted to have that flavor profile, but I wanted it to not be too strong. I still wanted to keep the tequila people happy. But like I said, my whole goal is now with the Añejo, I just wanted to make a good quality aged product. It was not trying to influence anybody or anything. I just wanted to make a good quality aged product. And I know we've done that, and I'm happy with that. So I think the only difference will be that everything will stay the same. Now for my anger management brand, which was the agaves were only 5 years old. This brand, the agaves are 6 years old. Now, if I can get a 6.5, 7-year-old agave, that would probably be the only things that hopefully would be changing. And that is going to change the flavor profile a little bit.
And you kind of going into the anger management brand, you had mentioned earlier in the podcast that, there was some issue there with the name of the tequila being anger management. Can you kind of go into that, or is that something?
Yeah. No, I can. It was, there's a brewery up in Montana, and they have a beer called Anger Management. And I knew they had that when I launched the brand. However, I thought, well, I'm a tequila. That's a beer. There's not going to be any conflict there. Well, there is, because I didn't know this at the time. Prior to this happening with me, I think it was like 10 years prior, there was a beer brand and a tequila brand. They were pretty similar name, and there was a lawsuit about it. And so ever since then, it has become an issue. So that is why I reached out to him. I said, I'm not trying to be shady. I'm not trying to be sneaky. I said, I just didn't think it was going to be a conflict. But he didn't want to work out. He didn't want his beer affiliated with tequila at all, even though he only sells it up there in Montana, nowhere else. But it was the best thing that could happen for me. The name change has been the best thing, to be honest.
That's, going into the background of why you named it Cardenas Legacy, it has much more, in my opinion, much more of a special meaning because, the legacy part of it, from your grandfather to you, and now your daughter being in the Coast Guard, that's, the military legacy, that's, your family legacy is being a military family, and with your last name being, the main head of it, like it's like, I see it. I think it's a great concept. I love, the reasoning that you came up with, the name. Like I think it's great.
Oh, thank you. Now, like I said, it all came through, and you'll see if you look on there, the little agaves, one of the keys. See, this is red for the Reposado. You have the blue for the Blanco, and then Añejo is gold. So and what I wanted to do, we didn't have time to do it originally, was I want all the toppers to go with those colors too eventually. There's some changes we're going to make to the bottles and stuff like that, and the labeling. little bit better labels. The Añejo has better labels on it and stuff like that. There's a big learning curve on the first batch.
Okay. And do you see any similarities between the military community and the tequila community?
Yeah, and I think we both were talking about it just a few minutes ago, is just the brotherhood, how things come together,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of that. And I think that's why it makes it easy for me because, I have a lot of my old military buddies that are buying my tequila and stuff
That's
like that.
awesome.
It's very, very cool. Guys, it's kind of funny. Some of the guys I haven't even talked to them, you post things on Facebook, whatever, like, oh, Chris, I haven't talked to you forever. I got to get some of that. I'm like, oh man, I appreciate it, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. When you're in the military, you might not talk to someone for a while, but when you do talk to them, it's not like you really have been apart that long. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And so like my first unit that I was with, the 108th Military Police Company, they, our platoon, and it's not just my opinion, but the opinion of pretty much the entire platoon is that we were the best platoon in the company. And there are, some accolades for first platoon that made it so. But I still talk to some of those guys. I think we have a group chat that there's like 30 of us in, and we always sending stuff. One guy sends pictures and videos of his son playing football, his daughter basketball. We still connect, and we still um, keep each other. And a good portion of them actually listen to the podcast. So I'm
Awesome.
hoping, after they listen to this episode that, they're going to go out and they're going to try your tequila.
I hope so. And if they do, please follow us. And one thing I always ask from everybody is I love feedback. I love feedback from people, But now let me ask you something. Take that feeling and go
Okay.
to the pre-party. Did it kind of have that same feeling? Like everybody coming together in a certain way?
It did. And I think for me, it was one, I never saw myself on that level when I got invited. And the fact that I got invited, I was like, whoa, this is like one of the best things ever, because again, the podcast is small, but there are, I would say I have a very good loyal following. It's small,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll grow over time, but the where I'm at, and I think a lot of it has to do with, one, how I network with people, and, how I treat people. And I see that as to probably why I was invited to begin with.
Yeah.
And then it's just evolved from there. And, there's, I've had some guests on the show that I'm like, wow, I like, I feel like, to me, like I have succeeded in my realm of podcast, because I've had the creme de la creme of influencers on, and I've had the creme de la creme of small brands on, and it's just going to continue to grow. It's going to take time, of course, as with anything. The more that I think I get out there, the more I think that it will grow.
Absolutely. And I think, and that's what I'm kind of doing with my tequila. I think if you do it at a nice, slow, steady pace, it's
Mm-hmm.
a better, because you'll see like brands come out and they come out and they just throw all this money out there. And then that's great. But in 6 months to a year, they're out of that money. And then
Mm-hmm.
you're not hearing from them very much anymore, you know? And it's,
Yeah.
and that's where you got to be kind of like balanced. You got to know when to throw the money, when to do this, when to grow, this and that. But I, I probably am not growing as fast as maybe as I should. But at the same time, I still work a regular job like you. I have this tequila. I have my kids. There's a lot that goes on with all this, and you know, and I'm a family comes first. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer of that. Doesn't mean I will miss a soccer game because I have to do a tequila. If I have to do the tequila thing, I'll do it. But my kids know I'm at least at 95% of their games. I try to do everything and anything I can to be at their games. If something happens, it happens. But, my middle one right now, she's at the age, she's a junior high school, becoming a senior. It's not as important to her as it was, now, like me and her coaching my youngest daughter's team, her soccer team is kind of fun. But, so I have to be there for those. But she wants us at the games. But as they get older, it's not as big of a deal.
It's like, Dad, really? Like, can you give me my space?
Exactly.
Going back to your Air Force time, what is one of the most memorable experiences that you got from the Air Force that still impacts you today?
Let's see, was it the time I woke up and I was tied down to the bed with the sheets? Or that did happen though. That was Okinawa, Japan. But no,
did you ever qualify? So qualifying is when you hang upside down on a tree and you have to hang there for, a given time in order to either one, beat the record of anyone else that's done it before you, or, the current time of, we'll say, initiation.
I never had to do that, luckily.
Okay.
We never did that, but we did other kinds of stupid things. But from the military, I would just probably say it's the friends I made and I'm still in touch with. Like you were just saying, I have a buddy of mine I was in the military with, lives in Virginia, and he's trying to help my daughter right now for her soccer career for college. And I didn't ask him for any of that. He's just like, oh man, I'm watching her. I see everything she's doing. I told a bunch of coaches about her out here. And I'm like, well, thanks, man. And it's just that brotherhood that you have that you don't ask for it. And he knows if tides were turned and he needed help with something, I would do whatever I could. And I think that's the most important thing. It's just the brotherhoods you get from it and everything. I don't think there was like a certain point. You might have been I was only in 4.5 years. So
I was in 12.
Yeah. So you saw a lot more and you did a lot more things than I did. But one of the best things I guess I could say about the military is it took me to Alaska. I ended up living up there a total of 17 years. I enjoyed it. I loved it.
Wow.
But that's why when people are like, why are you launching your tequila in Alaska? I'm like, I lived up there 17 years. I put on concerts up there. I know a lot of bar and restaurant owners.
That's amazing. I only ever had a layover in Anchorage once, and it was almost not quite spring, but there was still a bunch of snow on the ground, and I got to just step out onto the tarmac and enjoy the view from the tarmac, and I was like, okay, I've crossed this state off my list. Now it's time to go back home.
No, man, you got to go up there in the summer and really enjoy. I don't know if you enjoy fishing or anything, but it's a blast. It's a blast.
Trying to wind things down here. Where can everyone find you on social media?
Everything's under Cardenas Legacy Tequila. So you can go on any of the Instagram, Facebook, any of that. You punch that in, and I come right up.
Okay.
We're on Snapchat, LinkedIn, everywhere.
Okay. Sounds good. And then everybody can find you in Total Wine. And you said that you're in a few other states other than California. Any specific places in those states?
Just California and Texas right now. In Texas, we're in the main cities, Austin, Dallas, Houston.
Okay. Any specific liquor stores or
Total Wine mainly.
Okay, perfect. Sounds great. And then before we close out, thank you again for being on the podcast. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your service. And this is a great Blanco. If you guys can go out and get a bottle of Cardenas Legacy. I recommend it highly. It's a very soft, drinkable, pool sipping tequila for sure. You guys need to find out where you can purchase a bottle. Go to cardenaslegacy.com and you're able to find the store locators of where it's at. Chris, again, thank you so much.
Hey, Matt, thank you. And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And thank you for teaching everybody about tequila.
Well, it's a learning process always. And yeah, anyway, thanks again. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.